Hi, everyone. This is Trent Young, pastor at Patterson Avenue Baptist Church in Comanche, Oklahoma. It's the day after Father's Day. And so I wanted to share with everyone some important things about dads and about Father's Day. And I wanted to get you to ask yourself a question. What did you learn from your father? And I know as we talk about this that some of you did not have great examples as a dad or from your dad. And so I want you to know to be thinking about, or were there other men in your life that kind of took up that role, that helped you to learn, that kind of grew you in your faith? And today I also want to encourage you, if you're a dad, to take up that role and to be strong in your faith and to lead. And I want to give you a challenge as we go through this. But I want to read to you a passage of scripture. It's in Ephesians chapter 6, starting in verse 1. It says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and you may enjoy long life on the earth." Those are the first three verses. And then verse 4 says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." I want you to know that God has placed parents in the lives of kids on purpose. I know we all want to be friends with our kids. We want them to be our buddies and all that. But it's important that we don't neglect the role of being the leader, being the instructor, the teacher, being the authority in their lives. I don't know if you are like me, but when I was a kid, I thought I could do everything, and I would try to do everything, and I would get myself in trouble. I would do things that were not good for me, not good for the people around me. And so I needed people to be in my life that would hold me accountable, just like every child does. And so parents, be a parent. Don't be just the buddy. I mean, there are times when we can have fun with our kids, absolutely. But be the authority figure. You have to be the disciplinarian sometimes, and that's hard. Sometimes we don't enjoy that role, but that's a role that we need to take. So it says, "Fathers, do not exasperate your kids. Make sure that they know what the rules are and know where the boundaries are." They can be exasperated by not knowing where those boundaries are, what those rules are, not knowing that their dad loves them. So dads, make sure and tell your kids, let them know that you do love them. And these are the things that are expected of them that will help them to be confident and secure in the relationship with you and as they move forward in life. So I want to ask you again, what did you learn from your dad? My dad, I really appreciated. He taught me a lot of things, right? He taught me how to tear down some things. He taught me how to build up some things. He taught me how to drive. It was kind of scary when I was a kid because I learned to drive when I was 7 years old. And because we had to, right? We lived on a farm. We needed to move tractors, trucks, all kinds of things around the farm. And so I had to learn to drive quickly. And I made some massive mistakes trying to avoid running over a crop and jump the ditch in my dad's pickup. It was not good, right? But I learned lots of things. I learned how to work hard. I learned how to have a work ethic. And so those things were important. And so I want to ask you again, what did you learn from your dad? I want to encourage you to write those things down. Talk to your kids, your grandkids even, about what you learned from your dad. I got to spend the day with my dad. I guess it's been on this past Saturday, a couple of days ago. and really enjoyed just visiting. And I've seen my dad really, I want to say he's changed, right? When I was a kid, he was the disciplinarian, but now he's the grandpa and the great grandpa, and he loves on those kids. And I love to watch him do that because it's a good example for me as I'm becoming a grandpa too, how to be that guy, how to be the one that everybody, all the grandkids and great grandkids just love. That's the one I want to be. My dad turned 77 this year, and I'm just, Dana and I, both of our dads turned 77, and so we want to love on those guys and be with them as much as we possibly can. Another couple of things that I learned from my dad, I think are really important. One is that my dad had a rough life growing up. I was not perfect, and none of us dads are perfect, right? But my grandpa was alcoholic, and my real grandmother, I guess you could say, I didn't know her. She evidently was not a great role model, and so my dad struggled with that. But he made some decisions that I think were really important. He decided that he was going to change his family tree. He was going to change his life and the life of his kids. And so the principle I think that I gained from that is, no matter if you've had a crappy past, don't let that keep you from experiencing a wonderful, awesome, joy-filled future. All of us can be held captive by the things that have happened in our past, right? We've all made decisions. We've all experienced decisions of other people that have been hard and made life terrible at different times for us. But we can either get hung up on that, or we can decide, you know what, I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to make choices that change my life so that my future life is not that way, and the life of my kids, grandkids, great-grandkids in the future is going to be different. So don't let a cruddy past keep you from an amazing future. That was one of the things that I learned from my dad, because he made choices. Even though he had a rough growing up years, rough life as he was growing up, he did not let that keep him from experiencing an amazing future. And because of that, not only did he experience a great life and has a great family, but all of us kids have experienced the blessing of that because he made that choice. And so I think that's a great principle for all of us to learn. Don't let a cruddy and crappy past keep you from an amazing future. Make some choices, change things, change your family tree. I wanted to read another passage of scripture to you. It's in John chapter 8, verse 36. It tells us that if the Son, which is Jesus, if the Son has set you free, then you are free indeed, completely free. And so as we think about the things that have happened in our past, maybe they're bad, maybe we've made decisions, maybe our parents made decisions, maybe we had bad examples, whatever. Don't let those things keep you as a captive, but instead let Jesus set you free and let him set you completely free. You don't have to live as a captive to your past. You can move forward and experience the joy that comes in Jesus. Now, I mentioned just a moment ago that I wanted to share with you a challenge that I think is really a great opportunity for dads and grandpas, and that is that I want to challenge you to set up a time. Maybe it's a getaway, maybe it's just having people over to your house. Whatever is good for you and your family, but set up a time to have your kids and your grandkids, whatever, come to your house, and I want you to talk to them. Dads, I want you to be intentional about the things that you talk with them, and I want to give you some places to go with that. First of all, I want you to take some time to have that getaway, and I want you to tell them your story. Tell them your growing up story, and tell them the good and the bad, right? Don't gloss over the bad, but instead tell them all of it. Tell them what your growing up life was like. Tell them the things that you learned, the hard things that you did, even the mistakes that you made. help them to learn from your mistakes so they don't have to be doomed to repeat those things. So do that. And the second thing I want to ask you is to tell them some about your faith. Tell your family, your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids about your faith. And so here's 4 questions that I want you to answer. First one is, when did you become a Christian? Hopefully you can say, hey, I made that choice at this point in my life, and I became a follower of Jesus Christ. Now, if you haven't done that, then you need to do that. Today is the day of salvation, is what Scripture says. Today is the day for you to make that decision, and I would encourage you to do that. Please contact me if you don't know how to do that. I'd love to share with you how to do that. But so share with your family when you became a Christian. Talk to them about when you got baptized. I don't believe that baptism saves you, but I do think it's very important because it's an act of obedience, right? Just like Jesus was baptized, he had never sinned, he didn't need that, but it was an act of obedience to the Father that he did that. And we need to do the same thing. And it gives us a way to share a testimony that we are buried with Christ and we're raised to walk in a brand new life. And it shares with everybody about that decision that we've made. So talk to your family about when you were baptized. Where was it? What was it like? Also, what is one verse that has made a difference in your life? Okay, so we're going to talk about when I became a Christian, when I was baptized, and then this is the part that as you were growing in your faith, what is a verse of Scripture that made a difference that you hung on to? There are several that I can think of in my life that people made me memorize, that encouraged me with, some things like that. So make sure and share a verse of Scripture that has made a difference. And then the last thing that I want you to share with your family is, what do you pray about now? What things are on your heart and mind that you pray? And maybe it's something that you pray for those kids, those grandkids, those great-grandkids. What is it that you pray for now? What is it you pray for them about now? So I want to ask you to make this an annual event for your family, to get together with your family, with your kids, and maybe there's something next year that's different, that you're praying for different. You can still tell them your testimony of how you got saved when you were baptized, and then share with them, hey, this is a new Scripture that I've learned, or this is a new thing that I'm praying for. I told you about my dad. My dad's Sam Young. He's an amazing man. Still working full-time at 77. He can work me under the table, let me just tell you. And I love that guy. I just love him more all the time. There have also been several men in my life that were, I guess I call them spiritual dads. Dads that helped me to grow from one point to the next point in my spiritual life. Think about Craig Hughes, who was the youth minister at First Baptist Church in Mount Vernon. I had not really been discipled, and I needed that, and he came along in my life when we moved to Mount Vernon and really helped me to grow, and I'm so thankful for that. David Kimmerling was a BSU director at Wayland when I went there. Bruce McGowan was a BSU director at Texas Tech when I went there, and these guys really helped me. Nick Howard was another BSU director at Wayland, just helped me grow tremendously and gave me leadership opportunities. But there was another guy that I got to spend a lot of time with, and that guy was Eddie Curry. I was pretty rebellious when I went to college. I decided that was my time to go play, and so that was part of the reason I went to Texas Tech, because it was closer to all the clubs and things that I wanted to be involved in. I'm kind of ashamed to say that, but that was my life then. But God allowed me to go back to Wayland and to kind of get my act together, and it was guys like Eddie Curry that came alongside me and got me back involved in church. Gave me opportunities to spend time with his family. He and Deanne, his wife, and Camber and Cade, they adopted me, and then later on my wife Dana. Before we were married, we all got to be part of the family. And it was so cool how Eddie brought us in, helped us to grow, encouraged us. Um, and it was really neat that a short time after I graduated, he called and told me that God had really been dealing with him and was leading him to be in ministry. And so one of the neat things is that Eddie and I got to be in seminary at the same time and sat in the cafeteria and visit. And Pam Gentry is another student who Eddie adopted. We were all in seminary together, and that was so cool. And Eddie moved on to be an amazing minister of education. He just was so gifted and so passionate about helping people grow. Unfortunately, a little less than a year ago, Eddie passed away. It was very surprising and just because kind of a shock to everyone. We got to go be with Deanne and Camber and Kate at the funeral service, and just I loved that time getting to visit with them. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I received a package in the mail, and it was this necktie. I've about given up on wearing neckties, but this one is special. Deanne sent this to me, and it's one of Eddie's ties. And she sent me a sweet note just telling me that she wanted this to be a reminder to be faithful, because Eddie was faithful, and he loved us, and we got to be a blessing to him, and he was certainly a blessing to me, I tell you. And so this tie is a reminder to me of Eddie. Maybe there's something in your life that is a reminder of someone who made a big difference in your life in days past, and maybe they've passed on. Maybe that person led you to follow Jesus in a closer way, to be stronger in your testimony, to be stronger and bolder in sharing your faith. Then make sure and carry on the tradition of growing other people and helping those next generations, those children, those grandchildren, those even great-grandchildren, help them to grow, to be closer to Him, and to push them. Yeah, we want to be their buddy, right? But we also need to be the one who pushes them closer to Christ. And sometimes that means being a disciplinarian, and sometimes that means making sure that they're in church even when they don't want to be. I don't want to get up. Yes, you've got to get up. You're going with me. We're going to church. We're going to grow. We're going to read our Bible. We're going to be closer to Jesus. We're going to serve the Lord. In Joshua chapter 24, Joshua is talking to the people of Israel, and he tells them, hey, you choose, make a decision. What are you going to do? But as for me and my house, my household, all of us, I'm going to make sure my family, we're all serving the Lord. So dads, I know it's the day after Father's Day, and hopefully you got to have a great day with your family. But don't let the role of being an amazing dad who changes the future for someone else, don't let that stop at Father's Day. Make sure that it continues on in the days to come and the years to come, because dads are important. God placed dads in the lives of kids and grandkids and great-grandkids on purpose. So let's be amazing. Thank you for watching this, and I'm praying for you, dads. God bless you all. Thank you.